Welcome back, you guys. My name is Caine, and let's talk about NBA trades that almost happened that are forgotten about. These are trades that were close to happening, but one side backed out because of some details. I made sure all four of these were somewhat recent. I think some of you guys will remember a few of these, but the specific details of it are definitely forgotten about and interesting to read about and look back on. When you go through these four trades, let me know which ones you think are the most interesting. Let's try to hit 800 likes on the first day on this video and go into the first trade. First trade on the list that nearly happened is Josh Smith to the Celtics and Paul Pierce to the Mavericks. There were Josh Smith to the Celtics rumors going on since 2012, and at the 2013 trade deadline, there was a three-team deal in place between the Dallas Mavericks, Atlanta Hawks, and Boston Celtics. Here was the proposed trade according to Woj back in 2013. He said that this was the closest Pierce was to being traded from the Celtics at the time. Check out the graphic. The Celtics would have gotten Josh Smith, the Hawks get Dante Jones, Brandon Wright, Jay Crowder, and they swapped their first-round pick in 2013 with Dallas, and the Mavs get Paul Pierce and Atlanta's first-round pick that year. But Atlanta wanted more. They wanted Boston's first-round draft pick that year, and that face Paul Pierce is making in this picture is the one I'm making right now, and the one Danny Ainge probably made when the Hawks told him that they wanted their pick. Boston would not give up on that pick, and the deal was scrapped. At the time in March 2013, the Celtics were 33-27 and had the 7th seed. The Big Three's window was basically shut, and Ainge was trying to get younger. Shout out to Danny Ainge for stepping back from this deal because Josh Smith would be out of the league in just a few years. He had that crazy Game 6 performance to save the Rockets season in 2015, but other than that, there was nothing memorable about him after that. And that was not the last time that the Celtics would go after Josh Smith. 3 months later, there was a report that the Celtics had a sign and trade offer ready for Josh Smith 3 days before they would make the trade with Brooklyn. This brings up a lot of what ifs if this trade goes down. What team does Danny Ainge trade Kevin Garnett to that summer? The Celtics don't rob the Nets of all of those picks, so the team definitely looks different. The Mavs were still trying to get Dirk one last playoff run, and I don't know how good they would have been, but Pierce and Dirk would have been interesting to watch that year. Let's go into the second trade. Okay, we got the Celtics again, and it involved Goran Dragic. The Phoenix Suns were looking to trade Dragic before the 2015 trade deadline after Dragic's representatives told Phoenix that he does not plan to re-sign with them that summer. He did not want to share a backcourt with Isaiah Thomas and Eric Bledsoe, so he wanted out. Dragic was coming off a really good season. He was named All-NBA Third Team and won the Most Improved Player award. The teams that Dragic wanted to get traded to, next to the Miami Heat, were the Knicks and the Lakers, but a report came out that the Celtics have emerged as a dark horse team to get Goran. The Celtics had a ton of picks and assets that they could send to Phoenix, plus Danny Ainge had a strong relationship with the Suns' general manager. If the Celtics were to get Goran, they had confidence that they could convince him to stay in free agency, and according to Woj on February 18th, 2015, the Suns were speaking to the Celtics before they started working on a deal with the Miami Heat, the team Dragic would end up getting traded to a day later. That trade was scrapped, and the next day, the Celtics traded for Isaiah Thomas. Let's just say this trade does go down and Dragic is in Boston. He probably doesn't average the near 30 points per game like Isaiah does. How would have things turned out for the Celtics if they traded for Goran? Is he their long-term point guard? What happens to Isaiah Thomas's career? What team does he get traded to? Does he stay on the Suns? I wonder what happens there. Back in the summer of 2010, Chris Paul reportedly gave the Hornets a wish list of 4 teams he would like to get traded to: the Orlando Magic, the New York Knicks, the Dallas Mavericks, and the Portland Trail Blazers. Those teams make some sense. He could team up with Dwight Howard in Orlando. If he was on the Knicks, him, Amari, Carmelo Anthony would have competed with the Heat's new Big Three. Dirk and CP3 would be a crazy duo in Dallas, and the last team, the Portland Trail Blazers, a young team led by Brandon Roy. At the time, the Blazers had a really intriguing combination of cap, young players, and draft picks. Check the graphic here. The reported trade was the Blazers would send Nicholas Batum, Jared Bayless, Andre Miller, Joel Przybilla, and a first-round pick to New Orleans, and in return, they would get Chris Paul and Emeka Okafor. Przybilla and Miller were both expiring contracts, and Bayless and Batum were young guys to rebuild around. But Hornets general manager Jeff Bauer pulled out of the deal, claiming that their owner wasn't ready to trade Chris Paul. This would have been a huge upgrade, as Portland was running Steve Blake and Andre Miller at the 1 that year. There are some interesting what-ifs here. If this trade goes through, which team takes Damian Lillard in the 2012 NBA draft, since the Blazers do not need a point guard? On paper, CP3 would be leading a team with Brandon Roy, Greg Oden, and LaMarcus Aldridge. Now, I think Oden and Roy's injuries would stay consistent in this alternate timeline of CP3 on the Blazers, but a LaMarcus and Chris Paul duo would have been pretty good. I wonder what would have happened there. What kind of playoff runs could they have put together? Carmelo Anthony could have been on the New Jersey Nets in 2011, but he had to accept a 3-year, $65 million contract extension with them. Check the graphic of the proposed trade with the Nets and the Nuggets. The Nets would have gotten Melo, Chauncey Billups, Sheldon Williams, Melvin Ely, and Ronaldo Balkman, and the Nuggets would have gotten back Derek Favors, Devin Harris, and 2 or more first-round draft picks. The Nets and the Nuggets agreed on these terms, but there was one problem. Melo had to accept that extension, and of course he was not going to accept that. And that wasn't the first time the Denver Nuggets and the New Jersey Nets tried to get a deal done with Carmelo Anthony. They tried working on 3 trades together since October of 2010, but all went nowhere. How would have Carmelo's career panned out on the Nets if he accepted that extension with them? Another interesting what if, the Nets probably don't trade for Paul Pierce and KG since they would have no assets. And that's it for me. NBA trades that almost happened, that are forgotten about. I think the Goran Dragic to the Celtics is a pretty interesting one. I would have liked to seen Goran Dragic play for the Celtics. Plus, I just want to know what would have happened to Isaiah Thomas. What team is he on in 2017 in that alternate timeline? So if you made it to the end, shout out to you. I'll see you guys in my next video.